A gargoyle made out of cutlery. Yes, there it is. Hello, Thack from Thack Ironworks. Welcome to my channel. Today we are making not one but two gargoyles out of cutlery. I've got a whole box full of spoons and forks and ladles and all kinds of stuff like that. And I've got a rough concept for what I want to do. So I've got a client who has beams in their house with corbels. I'm not sure what you call that, 45. I think that's corbel. I can't remember. Not up on my wood architecture. But anyway, they've got several of these in their rec room, and they thought it would be cool to have some sort of beasts emerging through there, occupying the space. So we're going to start out with two of them and see if we can come up with something cool. So my thought process is what I want to do is build an armature that actually pivots on the various joints so that I can, as I start to sculpt this or build up the body of this, I can still pose it and get it in some really funky, dramatic postures as I'm going, and allows me to get something that will move properly, and then I can lock it in once I find my perfect posture that will slip into that unusual space. So let's begin, shall we? I did a little bit of experimenting, and somewhere I decided I could come up with this really quick and easy pivot that allows for shoulder and hip movement. So this piece will be going in here and allows as much movement as I need to get various postures that roughly equivalent to a shoulder joint or a hip joint. And I need something quite spider monkey flexible because I've got these very long limbs. I've done it with a short, we've got a short femur here and a short humerus, I think that is. I think that's called a humerus, although I don't think it's very funny. And then I've got my forearms and calves, if you will, quite long and coming down into more of a dog-like paw there, very claw-like hands. I want to, it's kind of a monkey anatomy, but at the same time I want to kind of make it into a gargoyle with different anatomical features. I'm thinking more like Hellboy when he was a kid, or if you remember the Gremlins movies from the 80s, the evil part of the Gremlins, the evil style of them. So that's kind of my thought process. At the same time, I don't want to over-design this thing as a begin. I would like to kind of have this as a wait and see evolution as I start adding the pieces and just kind of follow the organic flow of that. I find that a lot of fun, and it allows for some surprises for me as the artist. So let's start building our frame. Okay, so there we have it, something that can move in a roughly monkey-like way. I've got all my bends here that I can play with now. So now I can start building onto this with my cutlery. I suppose I'm just trying to feel my way through this. Let's just go over to our beam configuration here. I'm thinking right off the top of my head, make something. Since I'm doing two of these, I was going to do one where it's just kind of peeking through, but I thought it might be kind of kooky to have one upside down with his head up against here, just and arms kind of lazily hanging down and just kind of looking over with a slightly menacing look to it. And I thought that might have some coolness, got the knees tucked up here with the legs kind of sticking out the top beam. So I think that might be a fun pose. Lose pieces on this. I think I lost a piece, yes. Anyway, I'll probably have another one where he's just actively emerging through this cavity, so I can see something like this. So it's really a bit of an unknown as to what the final posture really needs to look like, but I want to have some dynamic twisting and stuff in there, but I think I can probably work with something like that. The heads I probably do quite large, just to offset the whole, I don't know, sinister aspect of the whole thing. So let's start adding components. So at this point, I've got to take stock of what I have for shapes, and I've got to start imagining how they're going to play together to replicate the muscles of this particular beast here. So I'm thinking, like right off the top of my head, things like a bicep, a spoon, you know, we can work with that, and then the forks kind of lend. I got a lot of forks here. I think for the rib structure, they seem to suggest that, even though things are not going to be anatomically correct in here. We're going to take a lot of stylized liberties, obviously, but I think something like layered forks can kind of create a rib cage sort of thing. So I think my strategy will be to maybe build kind of a thorax, the rib cage area there, and maybe you get some of the main muscles like bicep or into the forearms there, get some of the quads and calves kind of going, just kind of plot out a couple points without posing this thing, and then once I can kind of get a feel for how it's starting to fill in, then I can gradually fill in with more and more pieces, and then I might have to branch out from cutlery and add some, I'm thinking maybe just pieces of wire just to keep that whole muscular anatomy chart sort of aspect to this whole thing, but don't know yet. Not sure how this is all going to play out. I'm just trying to visually get an inventory of what I have and be able to spread it between the two. I may have to go out and buy even more cutlery. I've spent about $100 to get this stuff from a few thrift shops, and I might have to end up looting my own kitchen, or maybe going to my friends' homes and stealing out of their cutlery drawers. We'll have to see. Whatever it takes, I'm open to any and all methods to get this finished. So let's begin. So I've taken a few tentative swipes here, adding a couple pieces. So for example, we've got the bicep here, we've got the forearm. I'm attaching these only in like one point so that I can move, still fully articulate this thing, move it around. I've got my pecs, I've got my little six pack here, coming down to the camel toe, which we're not going to discuss that detail. And then I've also got a quadricep here. I'm starting to work on getting some of the main bulges and get those shapes, and then I will gradually infill, and during that I will also start trying to pose this into more of a fixed position. So come back in a little bit and let's see what I've come up with. Progress has been made, and this is what we've got so far. Let me show you here. Got our guy hanging upside down in the angle there, and the shape or posture is coming out quite nicely. You can see I'm framing things up and starting to make sense. Eric, coming tight here, let's take a look close up on some things. So many spoons, and what I was trying to find my footing. I was just kind of fumbling around in the dark on this, and then I started adding like this piece here to come down, kind of square off the pec here, get the nipple thing going there. I've got a nice deltoid. And then I started adding some just tiny round bar, 1/8 inch round, to kind of make this thing all veiny and sinewy. And if we go over here, I've done some more sorry Eric, I'm moving this around a lot here. So you can see I'm starting to get some pieces kind of coming in around and creating kind of that a very sinewy, twisted movement, very I don't know, anatomy chart muscle kind of look to it, but at the same time just kind of getting a flow of dynamic energy. That's what I'm kind of doing anyway. So that is yeah, I'm just kind of feeling my way through this, adding pieces as I go, and I think my round bar thing is kind of a cool way to at least flesh out the arms there. Not sure if I'm going to carry that through into here that much. I'm quite happy with the way this leg has come together here. It's starting to take shape, but it's still, I'm just kind of fumbling around. I thought what I would do is show you my hand process. So I start out by making just a skeletal hand, and I'm making this quite oversized based on the scale of this guy. You can see that it's not much smaller than my hand. So this guy's got super large hands. I'm also going to do the head a little bit oversized just to make the thing very grotesque, and you can see the legs are quite small there. So I'm just trying to kind of skewing proportions to make it a little bit more beastish. So after I've got my skeletal hand, then I cut these pieces of stainless tube and just get the segments of the finger. This one I'm trying to get essentially that shape there. Got this in place here, and now what I do is start welding it, and then welding the joints to create kind of a arthritic looking knuckle, so it gives it a bit of a dynamic shape. This is again not going to be anatomically correct by any stretch, but you want to have an anatomical plausibility is kind of what I'm going for here. This is going to be seen up in the corner from many feet away, so it's just got to have a visual read on it, and then when you get up closer you're like, this thing's made out of frickin' spoons. That's weird. That's kind of what I'm going for. I thought now what I'd like to do is talk about the head. Just went up on my wall of clay sculptures that I've got accumulated over the years that I use for maquettes as I'm making stuff. This is just some random gargoyle head that I had sitting there. This is a little bit too big for what we're doing, but I'm using it just as a very rough guide for starting out here. Let me just show you my thought process. I got some pieces here. So I thought maybe this spoon or ladle would be kind of a cool starting point, and put that down there, and then from there I found this big meat fork, which I think could create some pretty toothy fangs there. And then seeing the way this came together, I did some experimenting and I ground a 1/2-inch nut, so put some angles on it to create a flaring nostril sort of look there. So I got that. Then started thinking about the eyes and just experimenting with various bits and pieces I found. This is kind of a ring washer that I had, and I thought I could kind of come in like that. As I'm looking at that, the thing has a very Predator-esque sort of aspect, so I thought maybe some close set beady eyes would be good. So I found, again, just finding random components, put a nut on there. I think I might put something shinier on there. I could even put an acorn nut and just do that whole thing. So this is kind of my thought process right now. Maybe what I'll do is get the welder going and tack some of these pieces together and see if we can come up with a interesting face. Time has passed, and I've started working on the second gargoyle now, and you can see it. I've got it in my little mock-up here, and I've got a posture that I've created, and it's basically I fleshed out the entire posture this time in hoping that I can just fill in the blanks. And I did the other one, started out where I was making individual components and then added them on, but didn't flow as well. So I'm trying it this way. So this is from one view. Let me spin it around. And because I'm entitling these two gargoyles as the little bastards. I decided giving the finger was the appropriate posture for this particular one. So looking over her shoulder doing that. I think it's quite fun. So you can see I've just started fleshing this one out. Adding a few hemispheres and stuff like that to get some of the main landmarks on there, and now I'm just starting to fill in. You can see I've kind of got the quadriceps starting to fill in there, and I'm working my way down the legs, also working across here, and then I've got my solar plexus here. I've got to get a rib cage just in there, and then the arms, and of course the face, all that stuff. Lots and lots to do. This I find is a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing this, but at the same time it's really exhausting. Mentally, it kind of wears you out. After about 2 hours, I find I'm just drained because it's so many decisions to make. It's not like you're trying to find your best stylized compromise and make it work and do something cool and funky. You got to kind of think a couple steps ahead as to how it's going to flesh out. But I'm having fun, so why don't you join me again in a little bit and see what it looks like. And I'm out of spoons. I've been to the various thrift shops 4 times now, and every time I get predominantly spoons, but I just need more. It's unbelievable, a shitload of spoons, but this is where I am on our number 2 right now. You see he's got very kind of Christ-like sort of crucifixion pose going on there, and that fits into here. Something like so. You can see I've got his little vulgar finger here. Just everything is just basically got most of the components in place now. I'm just filling in a little bit. And we just want to take a look here and see some of the things I've done. So things of note here, I've got this spoon on the opposite way, concave, so creating that whole solar plexus thing, and then this creating his stylized six-pack, and just trying to get kind of that stylized where I'm utilizing the cutlery, but at the same time trying to mimic the anatomy of something real, and just it's a trade-off between those two things, which I find is actually very exhausting to do. You're creative for a little bit, you kind of get into a groove, and then all of a sudden your brain just goes to mush. It's kind of a complicated thing to do, but you can see I've pieced all the sections together here. This one came out with a decidedly cat-like countenance, which I just decided to lean into. The hands are of course oversized, and you can see the legs here coming down and flipping around here. Got nice little butt cheeks on there, and the way the legs kind of come down to get there at the back here, very rabbit-like in the legs. Having fun, but need to get some more spoons to finish it off. And now I would like to jump ahead and show you what the finished product is going to look like. Okay, so here's the first one, which is finished. What I've done as far as a patina on this one was, after I've got everything welded in place, I ground off a lot of the weld bead, blended things in, then I spray painted the entire thing black and buffed out the highlights to get a really high and low sort of thing. I didn't like the glariness of the original spoons and stuff like that, so I brought this down to more of a grayish sheen there, but that is the overall look. And you can see what I've done with my little round bars here. 1/8 inch round bar is creating that very striated, veiny sort of look. So taking what I've got there, adding those in to kind of add some dynamic lines, kind of flow of the anatomy. And again, this is not anatomically correct by any stretch, it's just suggestive of and trying to work with the stylized. It's doing found sculpture is it can be done really badly, it can be done really well, and I'm trying to land somewhere in the middle on this. I think it seems to be working out. I'm quite excited with how this looks. I'm going to throw this one up into the beam if you give me a minute here, and we'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this, my beam mock-up here, this one goes in like so. So I think very playful, being upside down, very The Little Bastards is what these two are called, so I think that really fits their personality. I'm quite happy with that one. Just got to get some more spoons. We'll finish off the other one and we'll get our final beauty shots. We're gonna call this the video here. I'm gonna stop talking now and we'll just finish it off. So join us again for our next video. Please comment below, please subscribe, do all those YouTube things, try to get my algorithm working for me, not against me, and let me know what you think of this particular thing. About a year ago or 2 years ago, I did the copper pots and pans gargoyle, and that one seemed to be a big hit. I really had a lot of fun doing the cutlery sculpture, and it's something I will definitely do again, but still I love my working with the silicon bronze sheet and actually doing the repousse and hammering that out. That is my most favorite forte, if you will, but I do like coloring outside the lines and experimenting with different styles of sculpture. Let me know what you think. I'm blabbing on. We'll just call it. See you in the next one. It'll be great. See ya. See ya.